Have you ever stopped to think, what am I really doing to achieve financial success? Sometimes we follow such a fast path and are so full of expectations, but we forget to reflect on the actions we take. After all, most of what we consider to be financial progress is, in fact, a series of behaviors and choices that take us away from our true goal. The first mistake we often make is believing that financial success comes from the relentless pursuit of more. More money, more investment, more assets, and it's okay to want to grow, but what are we really looking for? Success? Or just the feeling that we are in control of something that is actually controlling us? This is what Stoicism teaches us. True financial freedom does not come from accumulation, but from the ability to control our desires, and more importantly, to know what we really need. Now imagine that you are constantly chasing more without ever really understanding why. What happens to your mind when you are never satisfied? There is a growing emptiness, a growing anxiety, and a pressure that never ends. And worst of all, we are no closer to the peace we seek. Stoicism teaches us that financial peace comes not from a number in the bank account, but from our ability to want less, to be wiser in what we choose to keep, and even wiser in what we choose to let go. So the first thing you need to stop doing immediately is to stop comparing yourself to others. This constant comparison only fuels the idea that you will never be good enough. No matter how much you have, there will always be someone with more, and what this creates is a false sense of dissatisfaction. True financial success is not measured by what others are doing or how much they have, but by the control you have over your own desires and actions. Practice self-discipline. Self-discipline is undoubtedly one of the most crucial characteristics for achieving financial success, especially when we apply the principles of Stoicism. This practice is not limited to simply restricting momentary desires, but involves a deeper understanding of the control we have over our choices and how these choices can determine our future. First, it is important to understand that self-discipline goes beyond simply saying no to temptations. It begins with understanding what is truly necessary and what is superfluous. In our consumer society, we are constantly bombarded with advertising, promotions, and social influences that encourage us to buy more, consume more, and have more. However, Stoicism teaches us the art of distinguishing the essential from the trivial. It invites us to reflect on our real needs, helping us avoid the trap of endlessly seeking things that, ultimately, will not provide lasting happiness or satisfaction. Financial self-discipline requires us to be strategic and deliberate in our actions. Rather than spending impulsively, it requires us to think before making any purchasing decision. Ask yourself, do I really need this? Or, will this contribute to my long-term financial well-being? These questions apply not only to small purchases but also to big decisions, such as investing or even choosing a new job or lifestyle. A prime example of how financial self-discipline works is the habit of creating and following a budget. We are often tempted to spend beyond our means, especially when emotions influence our financial decisions. However, creating a strict budget and following its guidelines is a form of practicing self-discipline. By setting clear limits on how much we can spend in different categories, we ensure that our finances remain under control while maintaining a sense of freedom and control over our lives. Financial self-discipline also involves practicing patience. Stoicism teaches us that what really matters is not instant gratification, but the benefits that will come over time as a reward for our self-control. This principle is particularly relevant when it comes to financial investments. We are often tempted to chase quick profits or to jump onto the next big opportunity that looks promising. However, true financial success lies in maintaining a consistent and focused approach for the long term, without being seduced by the idea of quick gains or opportunities that arise suddenly. Furthermore, financial self-discipline also requires controlling your emotions. Financial decisions should not be made based on feelings of fear, greed, or anxiety. Stoicism teaches us to maintain a rational attitude, even in the face of uncertainty. This means that in times of economic crisis or market volatility, we should not make hasty decisions, but rather reflect calmly, using our discernment to make informed and careful choices. Finally, financial self-discipline is also a way of respecting yourself and your ability to grow. Every decision we make, no matter how simple it may seem, shapes our future. If we continue to make conscious and controlled decisions, focusing on what really matters, we will be creating a solid foundation for lasting financial success. Self-discipline allows us to not only achieve our goals, but also to live in a way that is more aligned with our values, contributing to a healthier and more balanced financial life. Therefore, financial self-discipline is not just about resisting immediate temptations, but rather about cultivating a long-term mindset where self-control, reflection, and patience become powerful allies in the pursuit of true financial success. Focus on what you can control. The concept of focusing on what we can control is fundamental to Stoicism and has a profound impact on our journey to financial success. Life is full of unexpected events and events that are beyond our control, and trying to control everything is futile. However, by focusing on what we can actually influence, our choices and actions become more effective and aligned with our goals. When it comes to finances, what can we really control? The first step is to recognize that money itself is not the key to success. We are often taught to believe that the amount of money we have is the only determining factor in our financial well-being. However, Stoicism reminds us that what we can really control is our attitudes toward money and how we choose to use it. A clear example of this is control over our consumption habits. We can choose how we spend our money, what we buy, and, most importantly, what we decide not to buy. This involves knowing how to distinguish between real needs and impulsive desires, something essential to maintaining good financial health. By adopting a conscious approach to our spending, we can not only save money, but also direct our resources towards what really matters, such as investments, education, or health. Another aspect that is within our control is how we manage our debt. While we cannot control market conditions or external events that may affect our financial lives, we can control how we manage our debt. The key here is responsibility, making informed credit decisions, paying off debt strategically, and avoiding taking on new, unnecessary debt. This requires discipline, patience, and a clear vision of what we are trying to achieve in the long term. Time management is also an important factor that we can control. Time is a limited resource, and in many cases, it is more valuable than money itself. How we choose to spend our time has a direct impact on our financial success. If we spend our time simply consuming entertainment or procrastinating, we are wasting a valuable opportunity to learn, grow, and improve our financial situation. On the other hand, if we choose to invest time in productive activities such as learning new skills, researching investments, or planning for the future, we can turn that time into a powerful tool for achieving financial freedom. Furthermore, how we relate to risk and uncertainty is also within our control. The financial markets are unpredictable, and in many cases, the circumstances that affect our finances are beyond our control. However, we can choose how we respond to these uncertainties. We can choose to act prudently, learn to analyze risks rationally, and not get carried away by short-term emotions such as fear or greed. Stoicism teaches us to accept what we cannot control and to focus on what is in our hands, which allows us to act with more clarity and confidence in times of economic volatility. Finally, it's important to note that focusing on what we can control also involves the mindset with which we approach financial challenges. We can choose to view financial obstacles as learning opportunities, rather than seeing them as failures or something to be feared. This shift in perspective is what allows the Stoic to remain calm in the face of adversity, remembering that no matter the external circumstances, there is always a choice in how we respond. By adopting this focus, our financial life stops being something that happens to us and becomes something we can actively shape. This doesn't mean that the path will be easy or free of difficulties, but rather that by focusing on what we can control, we gain the strength needed to make wiser decisions that are aligned with our true financial goal. Accept failure as part of the process. The next step on the path to financial success, as Stoicism teaches us, is to accept failure as part of the process. This is one of the hardest lessons, but also one of the most transformative. In our quest for financial prosperity, it is natural that we will experience difficulties, mistakes, and even failures. However, how we deal with these setbacks can determine whether we move forward or stagnate. In Stoicism, failure is not seen as a final defeat, but as an opportunity to learn. Every mistake offers a valuable lesson, and instead of fearing failure, we should embrace it as a way to hone our strategy and strengthen our mindset. This allows us to see financial obstacles as stepping stones to success, rather than insurmountable walls. A classic example of this is the way many investors deal with losses. Instead of despairing or giving up on the journey, A Stoic investor understands that market volatility is part of the process. Failure in an investment does not mean that the strategy is wrong, but rather that there is something to be learned, whether about the market, human behavior, or even our own limitations. By adopting this perspective, failure ceases to be an emotional barrier and becomes a springboard for growth. Furthermore, accepting failure also involves the ability to let go of perfection. Oftentimes, the pursuit of flawless financial success prevents us from taking decisive action. We expect each step to be perfectly calculated, which causes us to hesitate and procrastinate. However, Stoicism teaches us that action is more important than the relentless pursuit of perfection. Failure is actually a natural part of the learning process. True failure is not making mistakes but avoiding action out of fear of making mistakes. Accepting failure is also a lesson in humility. Instead of blaming external factors or people, the Stoic turns to himself to analyze what he can improve. This creates a mental environment conducive to self-knowledge and self-improvement, something essential when it comes to achieving financial success. What often happens is that we cling to our failures, creating a narrative that we are not capable or that we will never be successful. But the reality is that failure is part of the path to fulfillment and offers us an opportunity for personal development. In financial terms, accepting failure also means being flexible about your plans. Not everything will go as planned, and that's okay. What's important is the ability to adapt and move forward, adjusting your strategies when necessary. This type of flexibility is what ensures that you don't lose your way because of a small setback. Furthermore, accepting failure helps to reduce the fear of failure itself. Fear can be one of the biggest barriers to financial success because it prevents us from taking the necessary actions to grow. By seeing failure as something natural and useful, the fear diminishes, and we make more courageous and informed decisions. Fear of failure is paralyzing, but by accepting it as part of the journey, we gain the freedom to act with confidence. In short, accepting failure as part of the process is an essential practice for those seeking financial success, as it allows us to learn, adapt, and grow. Resistance to failure often holds us back, but by viewing failure as a learning tool, we free ourselves from this emotional prison. The key is to take action, learn from mistakes, and move forward with the confidence that each failure is an opportunity for evolution. Avoid comparing yourself to others. The next crucial step to achieving financial success, according to Stoicism, is to stop comparing yourself to others. This is one of the most damaging behaviors we can engage in, and it often goes unnoticed because it is deeply rooted in our culture of competition and comparison. The idea that we need to be on par with or even ahead of others financially creates a false sense of success and satisfaction. Constantly comparing ourselves to others leads us to a cycle of dissatisfaction, where we are never happy with what we have because there will always be someone with more. Whether at work, on social media, or in everyday life, comparisons feed the idea that we are never enough. This behavior is particularly corrosive in the financial context, as it makes us seek what others have instead of reflecting on what we really want to achieve and what is important for our own journey. Stoicism teaches us that true freedom lies in freeing ourselves from comparisons. A Stoic seeks excellence not to please others or to be ahead of others, but to become the best version of himself. This involves focusing on our own values, needs, and goals, without being influenced by the financial lives of others. When we stop comparing ourselves, we can focus on what really matters: our own financial goals, priorities, and path. Comparing ourselves to others also creates a mental environment filled with envy and frustration. Every time we look at someone else's success, the human mind tends to create a narrative of scarcity, as if someone else's victory were a loss for us. This type of thinking goes against Stoic philosophy, which values an abundance of opportunities, and the idea that other people's successes do not diminish our own. Instead of harboring envy, we can choose to admire the other person's journey and seek to learn from it without feeling threatened. Another important point is that by comparing ourselves to others, we run the risk of losing our own financial identity. We may start making decisions based on what others are doing instead of acting according to our needs and capabilities. For example, someone may see a friend buying a new car and feel pressured to do the same, even though they are not financially prepared to do so. Stoicism teaches us to act with discernment, that is, to make decisions that are in tune with our reality and goals, without being influenced by external expectations. Furthermore, When we compare ourselves to others, we often ignore each person's unique circumstances and stories. What led someone to achieve a certain financial success may be very different from our own. Blind comparisons can therefore lead us to unfair judgments and to the feeling that we are behind or doing something wrong. Everyone's learning and success journey is unique, and the true comparison should only be made with the version of ourselves we saw yesterday. Personal progress should be measured by how we are progressing, not by what others are doing. Financial success, in the context of Stoicism, is a reflection of our ability to act in a way that is aligned with our inner values and to make intelligent and balanced choices. When we stop comparing ourselves to others, we can create a more authentic and satisfying path, where each victory is celebrated for being ours and not in relation to someone else. Comparison is one of the great mental traps that prevents us from moving forward, and the solution is to focus on our own journey, with patience, discipline, and self-knowledge. Therefore, stopping comparing yourself to others is an essential step towards achieving true financial freedom. It allows us to have a clearer vision of our goals and strengthens our ability to act authentically and rationally without being distracted by external standards of success. By focusing on what truly matters to us, we can build a solid and lasting foundation for financial success, and more importantly, inner peace. If you're enjoying the content and want to continue receiving more tips and teachings on personal development and financial success, don't forget to subscribe right now. This will ensure that you never miss a new video. Establish an emergency fund. Another fundamental principle of Stoicism for achieving financial success is the practice of detaching from luxury and consumerism. We live in a society where consumption is often elevated to a status, and the idea of accumulating material goods is seen as synonymous with success. However, true financial freedom does not come from the amount of things we own, but from our ability to discern what truly adds value to our lives and our inner peace. Stoicism teaches us to live simply and to question the true value of material possessions. We often seek out luxury items or trinkets as a way to fill an emotional void or to create an image of success in the eyes of others. However, in doing so, we are only perpetuating a cycle of dissatisfaction, since material things, no matter how pleasurable they may be, never provide lasting satisfaction. The temporary pleasure of a new object soon fades, and we find ourselves once again searching for something to fill the void. This is a common behavior, but it is a trap that Stoicism helps us avoid. Letting go of luxuries does not mean living in deprivation, but rather understanding that true wealth lies in what is essential and what truly does us good. Often, we are so focused on accumulating things that we forget to value what is truly important: our health, our time, our relationships, and our personal growth. By adopting a simpler and more balanced mindset, we can redirect our resources to areas that truly contribute to our well-being and to building a solid financial foundation. Consumerism is also fueled by the constant pursuit of status and comparison with others. As we mentioned earlier, society often teaches us to measure our financial success based on what others have. When we see someone with a new car, a luxurious home, or designer clothes, we are naturally tempted to want those same things. However, the relentless pursuit of these possessions does not bring us closer to true financial freedom, but only keeps us stuck in a mindset of scarcity and dissatisfaction. Stoicism teaches us to focus on what truly matters and embrace the freedom that comes from letting go. This detachment is also reflected in the way we deal with our own financial identity. When we associate our personal value with material objects or with what we own, we end up becoming enslaved by consumerism. Financial success, according to Stoicism, is not about accumulating things, but about achieving inner peace, stability, and tranquility, regardless of what we have or do not have. True luxury, therefore, is being able to live with what is enough without being a slave to possessions. Furthermore, letting go of luxuries allows us to make more rational and conscious financial decisions. By avoiding the urge to consume excessively, we can invest more wisely in our future. We can allocate our money to assets that truly add value to our lives, such as education, health, and investments, instead of spending it on things that will only bring us temporary satisfaction. Stoicism teaches us that true wealth is not in having more, but in needing less, and this is a fundamental key to financial freedom. Finally, letting go of consumerism is also closely linked to developing gratitude. When we practice gratitude, we are able to appreciate what we already have rather than always seeking more. This gives us a sense of contentment and satisfaction, regardless of our bank balance or the size of our home. When we stop looking for happiness in external things, we begin to find true peace and financial stability within ourselves. Therefore, by embracing detachment from luxury and consumerism, we can create a more balanced and conscious lifestyle, where our financial choices are made wisely and aligned with our values. This not only brings us closer to financial success, but also provides us with a more fulfilling and satisfying life. Stoicism teaches us that true freedom comes from our ability to live simply, without being trapped by material desires and the relentless pursuit of status. By doing so, we can focus on what truly matters and achieve financial peace that goes beyond money. Letting go of luxury and consumerism. The next essential principle for achieving financial success, according to Stoicism, is adopting a long-term mindset. This is a concept that requires patience, resilience, and the ability to delay instant gratification in favor of greater benefits in the future. In a world where immediate rewards are constantly on offer, Stoicism teaches us the importance of developing a long-term vision for our financial decisions, a perspective that, over time, leads to true prosperity. In our quest for financial success, we are often tempted to seek quick and easy solutions. Advertising, miracle investments, and promises of instant wealth are everywhere. However, Stoicism reminds us that true success is not found in the pursuit of shortcuts or quick gratification. Instead, it is built over time through informed, consistent decisions and a patient strategic vision. A long-term mindset is key when it comes to financial investments. Rather than getting caught up in the day-to-day fluctuations of the market, a Stoic investor knows that time is his or her greatest ally. He or she understands that true wealth is not built overnight, but rather through a disciplined and consistent approach over the years. Rather than trying to seize the next big opportunity, he or she focuses on solid investments that will, over time, generate consistent returns while maintaining composure in the face of uncertainty. This approach is also essential for developing healthy financial habits. Rather than looking for quick ways to make money, a long-term mindset encourages us to build a solid, sustainable foundation by focusing on what we can do today to ensure a financially stable future. This includes practicing regular savings, investing in education, and learning to manage our finances responsibly. The Stoics teach us not to get caught up in the anxiety of the present, but to keep our sights set on the future, where our current efforts will translate into lasting results. When it comes to spending, this long-term mindset also translates into a more thoughtful and deliberate approach. Instead of being seduced by impulse purchases and the idea of immediate gratification, we are challenged to make decisions that will benefit us in the long term. This may involve choosing a simpler lifestyle, where we prioritize what really matters and what contributes to our long-term financial and emotional well-being. Patience and self-control are essential here, as they allow us to resist the temptation to give in to social pressure or the desire to live in the present without considering future consequences. A long-term mindset is also tied to the idea of perseverance. No matter how difficult or challenging the financial journey may seem at times, trusting in the process and having the determination to keep moving forward is key. Stoicism teaches us that true strength lies in our ability to remain steadfast in the face of adversity, always focusing on what we are trying to achieve and not letting temporary setbacks deter us. Furthermore, adopting a long-term mindset also means not getting discouraged by small failures or setbacks along the way. In the financial world, there will be challenges, whether it's an economic downturn, a failed investment, or a period of hardship. However, taking a long-term view teaches us to deal with these obstacles calmly and wisely, knowing that financial success is the result of perseverance and patience over time. In short, adopting a long-term mindset is essential to achieving true financial success. It allows us to make more rational and informed decisions, resist the temptations of immediate gratification, and build a solid and sustainable financial foundation. In the long run, this approach leads to a more balanced and peaceful financial life, where the focus is on creating a prosperous future rather than seeking quick or superficial solutions. Stoicism teaches us that with patience and perseverance, we can build a financial legacy that is not only successful, but also meaningful and aligned with our values. Adopt a long-term mindset, Another key principle of Stoicism for financial success is controlling your emotions, especially when dealing with financial matters. Stoicism teaches that we should seek serenity in the face of adversity and avoid letting our emotions override our reason. However, in a world where we are constantly bombarded with information and emotional stimuli, controlling our emotions around money can be one of the biggest challenges we face. When it comes to finances, emotions can be particularly powerful. Fear, anxiety, panic, and greed can cloud our judgment and lead us to make impulsive or uninformed decisions. For example, in times of financial crisis, many people may panic and sell their investments, only to see the markets recover later. On the other hand, greed can lead us to take more risks than we should in search of quick profits, ignoring the risks that could jeopardize our financial future. Stoicism teaches us to cultivate serenity and make rational decisions, even in the face of uncertainty and volatility. Managing your financial emotions starts with becoming aware of your feelings and being able to acknowledge them without letting them take over. When you're afraid of losing money, for example, you can take a moment to reflect on the source of your fear and ask yourself if it's unfounded. Your mind may be being influenced by external pressure or stories of failure, but a true Stoic seeks to act from wisdom, not fear. Instead of being driven by impulsive reactions, he or she takes a step back and assesses the situation clearly. Calmness in the face of financial ups and downs also involves accepting that the market, the economy, and life in general are unpredictable. Stoicism teaches us not to get attached to specific outcomes because we know that there are factors beyond our control. When we accept this uncertainty, we are able to deal with financial challenges with more calm and resilience. We do not despair over temporary losses or become euphoric over momentary gains. Inner peace comes from the ability to maintain a balanced perspective, knowing that fluctuations are part of the journey. Furthermore, practicing emotional control also involves moderation. In many situations, over-emotional behavior can lead us to destructive financial behaviors, such as impulse buying or making financial decisions driven by haste. When we allow ourselves to act calmly and moderately, we are able to make more thoughtful decisions. The key is to make financial choices based on our values and long-term goals, rather than acting on immediate desire or following the crowd. Fear management is also crucial to emotional control. The fear of losing money or making a bad decision can paralyze many people. This fear is often amplified by market uncertainty and the stories of bankruptcies we hear. But Stoicism teaches us to face fear with courage. We should not be ruled by fear, but rather learn to accept the possibility of failure as a natural part of life. The important thing is not to avoid fear, but to act in spite of it, with clarity and rationality. Managing financial emotions also involves cultivating gratitude. When we focus on financial losses or difficulties, we tend to lose sight of the good things in our lives. Gratitude helps us shift our perspective and focus on what we have already achieved and what really matters. By practicing gratitude, we are able to see the opportunities around us and appreciate the small victories that, over time, add up to create a solid financial foundation. Finally, managing your emotions also means knowing when to ask for help. Stoicism teaches us to seek wisdom in times of uncertainty and not to isolate ourselves emotionally. When faced with financial difficulties, it's important to recognize that you don't have to face everything alone. Seeking help from a financial expert, a mentor, or even a therapist can be an important step towards staying calm and making informed decisions. In short, controlling your emotions when it comes to money is essential to achieving financial success. Stoicism teaches us to act with serenity, rationality, and moderation, even when faced with challenges and uncertainties. When we are able to control our financial emotions, we are able to make wiser decisions, avoid impulsive behavior, and maintain the peace of mind needed to build a balanced and sustainable financial life. True wealth is not just in what we own, but in our ability to act wisely and with self-control. Invest in your financial knowledge. A key aspect of financial success, according to Stoicism, is the ability to cultivate a mindset of abundance. This may seem paradoxical in a financial context, where the traditional focus is on accumulating wealth and security. However, Stoicism teaches us that true prosperity is not just about accumulating money or material possessions, but about how we perceive and relate to the resources at our disposal. An abundance mindset is built on the understanding that the universe is vast and full of opportunities. Unlike a scarcity mindset, which makes us see resources as limited and leads us to strive to obtain what others have. An abundance mindset teaches us to trust that there will always be enough for everyone, and that true wealth lies in creating value, both for ourselves and for others. When applied to money, the abundance mindset allows us to see money not as scarce or a competition, but as a tool to create more value in the world. Instead of focusing on protecting what we have or fearing loss, we begin to understand that our prosperity is largely a result of our ability to create, innovate, and contribute in positive ways. Stoicism teaches us that when we help others and create value, we receive in return in ways that are not limited to money alone, but also personal growth, fulfillment, and balance. This mindset also involves viewing wealth as a reflection of our actions and choices, rather than something that happens randomly or by pure luck. When we begin to see financial success as the result of our effort, discipline, and skills, we begin to free ourselves from the anxiety and fear that often accompany the pursuit of money. The Stoic knows that as long as there is conscious effort, knowledge, and a well-defined strategy, abundance will be a natural consequence, not an obsessive goal. The abundance mindset is also closely linked to gratitude. The practice of being grateful for what we have instead of focusing on what we lack transforms our approach to finances. Gratitude makes us realize that what we already have is a reflection of our achievements, and by focusing on what we have already achieved, we can see our financial future with more clarity and confidence. When we are grateful, we are not only acknowledging what we already have, but also making room for more. Abundance manifests when we recognize and appreciate what is already in our lives. Additionally, an abundance mindset allows us to better deal with financial challenges. Life is full of ups and downs, but instead of seeing each difficulty as an insurmountable obstacle, a Stoic with an abundance mindset sees each difficulty as an opportunity for growth and learning. Instead of despairing in the face of a financial setback, we are able to see that these moments are part of a larger process of learning and development. This gives us the strength to continue to seek alternatives, adjust plans, and eventually reach our financial goals. Another important point is that this abundance mindset allows us to adopt a more generous approach. When we understand that financial success is not a competition, but an opportunity to create value for everyone around us, we are more inclined to share what we have, whether with other people, organizations, or causes. Stoicism teaches us that by sharing, we are not diminishing our own abundance, but rather, we are enriching our own spirit and creating a support network that is reflected in our financial prosperity. Finally, an abundance mindset helps us make more informed financial decisions. When we believe that there is an abundance of opportunity and that money is a tool for creating well-being, we are able to make more rational decisions rather than acting out of fear of loss or the feeling that we are missing out on a rare opportunity. This peace of mind allows us to make choices that are more aligned with our values and goals, without rushing or external pressures, and with a clearer vision of our financial path. Therefore, cultivating an abundance mindset is essential for financial success, as it allows us to focus on the value we can create and the impact we can make. When we adopt this mindset, we change our view of money and finances, transforming them into a positive tool for our growth and the good of others. Stoicism teaches us that true wealth is not in how much we have, but in our ability to live with wisdom, gratitude, and generosity, contributing to the world in a meaningful way. If you like this video, leave your like. Help the channel grow and reach more people who are also looking for transformation and learning. Cultivate gratitude. Finally, another crucial aspect of achieving financial success, according to Stoicism, is the ongoing development of our financial literacy. Stoic philosophy teaches us that knowledge and wisdom are fundamental pillars for a balanced and successful life, and in the financial context, this approach is equally valuable. Financial literacy is not limited to learning how to manage money, but also involves acquiring the discernment necessary to make wise and informed financial decisions throughout life. Stoicism values continuous learning and deep reflection on our choices and actions. When we apply this principle to our financial lives, it means that we should never become complacent or believe that we already know enough. The economy, financial markets, and even personal money management are constantly evolving, so it is essential to continue learning and adapting to new realities. This allows us to always be prepared to make smart financial decisions, whether in times of prosperity or crisis. Investing time and energy in our financial education is also a way to prevent mistakes that could jeopardize our long-term success. Many of the financial failures we face come from a lack of knowledge or an inadequate understanding of how finances work. This can include not knowing how to invest correctly, not understanding the risks involved, or simply not having a clear financial plan. Financial education, therefore, gives us the tools to deal with these issues more effectively and safely. Furthermore, financial literacy is not just about mastering financial techniques and strategies, but also about self-knowledge. Understanding our relationship with money, our financial beliefs and behaviors is essential to building a healthy financial life. Stoicism teaches us to practice constant self-analysis and to observe our reactions and decisions without judgment. This allows us to identify patterns of behavior that may be harming us financially and take steps to correct these patterns. Financial literacy also ties into the long-term mindset we discussed earlier. Continuously learning about investing, how the economy works, and the different types of assets and liabilities helps us make more informed, less impulsive decisions. Instead of looking for quick fixes or falling for promises of getting rich quick, we are able to make decisions that are aligned with our long-term goals. This might involve learning about investment diversification, how inflation affects our purchasing power, and how to create a balanced portfolio that will allow us to grow over the years. However, financial education should not be seen as a chore or a never-ending process of accumulating information. The key is the practical application of this knowledge. Just as Stoicism teaches us to transform philosophical ideas into daily practices, financial education is only valuable if it is put into action. This means creating a monthly budget, saving regularly, investing strategically, and making informed decisions about how we spend our time and money. Practical wisdom is what makes financial literacy truly effective. Additionally, financial education also helps us develop a long-term vision for our money. When we understand the fundamental principles of economics and finance, we can better anticipate the impacts of our choices and prepare for the future. This could include building an emergency fund, planning for retirement, or choosing investments that align with our personal values and goals. Finally, financial education should not be limited to technical aspects. Stoicism teaches us to reflect deeply, and the same applies to money. We need to constantly question our beliefs about wealth and success. Why do we seek financial success? What really matters to us when we think about money and happiness? By reflecting on these questions, we can align our financial education with our deepest values, avoiding the traps of consumption and greed that lead us away from a truly balanced and meaningful life. Therefore, financial success in the context of Stoicism is not simply about having money, but about how we use knowledge, wisdom, and discipline to make financial decisions that align with our values and long-term goals. Ongoing financial education allows us to build a solid foundation for a life of prosperity, wisdom, and serenity, where money is a tool for living according to the principles we hold most dear and not an end in itself. Develop an abundance mindset. The final principle we should consider in the pursuit of financial success, in light of Stoicism, is the importance of cultivating balance. In the modern world, we are often led to view money and wealth as the primary measure of success. But Stoicism teaches us that true success lies not in financial achievement alone, but in how we balance our lives, our relationships, and our priorities. The relentless pursuit of more money can easily distract us from what really matters. When the emphasis is on earning more and more, we can neglect essential areas of life, such as health, relationships, time for ourselves, and even our personal development. Stoicism teaches us that true prosperity is found in the balance between the material and the immaterial, between what we accumulate externally and what we cultivate internally. The idea of balance applies directly to managing our finances. Money alone cannot be the sole reason for our decisions. The goal is not to accumulate wealth at any cost, but to find a point of harmony between the wise use of money and the wise use of time and personal energy. This involves dedicating time to what is truly important, such as cultivating healthy relationships, investing in our physical and mental health, and pursuing our education and personal growth. In the financial context, balance involves learning to invest wisely, without getting carried away by greed or the rush to achieve big results quickly. A Stoic knows that true value comes from steady, sustainable growth, not from trying to make quick gains or making risky investments. Therefore, a balanced approach to investing involves long-term planning, an understanding of the risks involved, and the discipline to remain calm in the face of market fluctuations. By doing so, we can build wealth in a way that doesn't overwhelm us emotionally or distract us from our other life goals. Furthermore, balance is also reflected in our ability to deal with money in a detached way. Stoicism teaches us that attachment to money, or the belief that it is the key to happiness, can lead to frustration and emptiness. When we learn to see money as a tool rather than the ultimate goal, we can maintain a healthier relationship with it. Money is important, but it should not be the sole measure of success or happiness. Balance is knowing that while money is necessary for comfort and security, true fulfillment comes from living a life aligned with our deepest values. This balance also extends to consumption. We live in a society that often encourages us to consume without limits, to always seek the next product or service that promises to bring us happiness. However, Stoicism teaches us that true happiness does not come from unbridled consumption, but from the ability to find satisfaction in the simple things in life. Balance lies in knowing where to place our focus and resources, prioritizing experiences and investments that truly bring us satisfaction in the long term, rather than constantly giving in to the temptation of instant consumption. Balance is also an invitation to cultivate patience and moderation in our financial choices. Instead of seeking quick wealth or external approval through material status, we can seek to build a life that combines financial prosperity with fulfillment in other areas. This involves making more conscious choices about where we invest our time, energy, and money. By cultivating a balanced view, we can align our finances with our personal needs and goals, while always keeping an eye on our emotional and physical well-being. Furthermore, cultivating balance helps us deal with the ups and downs of financial life. In times of abundance, the serenity of Stoicism teaches us to be grateful and not to be dazzled by wealth, but to maintain a rational perspective aligned with our goals. In times of difficulty, Stoicism teaches us to see challenges as learning opportunities, without losing our calm or focus on our principles and goals. Balance, therefore, is what allows us to navigate the changes in our financial life with serenity, confidence, and clarity. In short, financial success, from a Stoic perspective, is not just about accumulating wealth or achieving a high financial status. It is about cultivating a balance that integrates financial growth with a healthy, meaningful lifestyle that is aligned with our values. True wealth is found in the ability to live with wisdom, discernment, and serenity, using financial resources in a way that serves our deepest goals and does not burden us with anxiety or insatiable desires. Stoicism teaches us that financial success is a reflection of a balanced life, where money, gratitude, knowledge, and inner peace coexist harmoniously. I'd love to hear from you. What else would you like to learn about financial success and personal development? Leave a comment. Let's talk and share ideas. To achieve financial success in line with Stoic principles, it is important to adopt consistent and conscious practices. As a personal development expert, here are the 10 essential actions you must take to achieve financial freedom, cultivate a balanced life, and be successful in a sustainable way and aligned with your values. Practice financial self-discipline. Self-discipline is the foundation of financial success. Avoid impulsive spending and set a budget that reflects your long-term priorities. Impulse control and the ability to delay immediate gratification are crucial to ensuring healthy money management. Focus on what you can control. Focus on actions that are within your control. Financial markets and economic conditions can be unpredictable, but you can control how you spend, save, and invest your money. Avoid getting distracted by external factors that are beyond your control. Accept failure as part of the process. Failure is not a permanent failure, but an opportunity to learn. Every financial mistake offers a valuable lesson that, when learned, makes you wiser and more prepared for success. Don't be afraid to fail. View it as a natural step on the path to prosperity. Stop comparing yourself to others. Constant comparison is poison to your self-esteem and success. Financial success is a unique and personal journey, and the only comparison you should make is to your own progress. Focus on your own goals without being distracted by the victories or losses of others. Let go of luxury and consumerism. The insatiable desire for material goods is an obstacle to true financial freedom. Practice detachment, buy only what is truly necessary, and invest in experiences that add value to your life. True wealth comes from simplicity and intelligence in managing your resources. Adopt a long-term mindset. Financial success doesn't happen overnight. Keep a long-term view of your investments and financial decisions. Patience and consistency are key to building true and lasting wealth. Control your emotions around money. Emotions can be our worst enemies when it comes to finances. Fear and greed can lead us to make rash decisions. Practice self-control and make decisions based on reason, not on the emotions of the moment. Calmness in the face of financial ups and downs is a sign of maturity. Cultivate an abundance mindset. Think of money as a tool, not an end in itself. Instead of seeing money as something scarce, see it as something that can be generated in multiple ways and that should be used to create value for yourself and others. An abundance mindset opens doors to more financial opportunities. Invest in your financial education. Knowledge is power. Continually seek to learn about personal finance, investing, saving, and money management. By investing in your financial education, you will be better able to make informed decisions and therefore increase your chances of long-term success. Find a balance between money and other aspects of life. Don't let money become your sole motivation. Cultivate a healthy balance between your finances, your health, your relationships, and your personal development. Financial success is just one aspect of a fulfilling and balanced life. In short, these actions are not just financial practices but also principles of personal development. By adopting them in a disciplined way and with a growth mindset, you will not only achieve financial success, but also develop a richer, more balanced, and fulfilling life. Remember, the path to true prosperity is an ongoing journey of learning, self-discovery, and alignment with your deepest values. Thank you very much for following along. I hope these guidelines based on the principles of Stoicism have brought new perspectives and valuable strategies for your financial success and personal development. Don't forget to come back to the channel for more inspiring and educational content that will help you continue on this journey of growth. And of course, activate the bell so you don't miss any of the upcoming teachings. Your journey to a balanced and prosperous financial life is just beginning, and we are here to support you every step of the way. See you soon.